Once upon a time, the Brown family stood in front of America as a symbol of polygamist unity. They smiled, they promised love and fairness, and they insisted over and over again that their lifestyle was built on faith, equality, and shared commitment. But what we all witnessed over the years, especially after Robyn entered the picture, it was something far darker. The smiles faded, the bonds crumbled, and the so called family turned into fragments of what it used to be. Somewhere along the way, love got replaced by loyalty tests. Connection was swapped for control, and one wife's inclusion became every other wife's slow erasure. Hi, friends. Welcome back to TLC's Sister Wives Secret. I'm Olivia, and if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button and drop a comment because we're about to talk about what really went down behind the emotional collapse of the Brown family. And yes, we're keeping it honest, and we're keeping it real. So, what was the moment everything started to change? Honestly, it wasn't just one thing. It was a slow, steady unraveling. But there's no denying that when Robyn joined the family, the dynamic shifted, and it never quite recovered. Kody, who had once juggled the emotional needs of three wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, suddenly seemed laser focused on one woman and her children. And while Robyn came in under the promise of equality like the rest, her experience was anything but equal, Nikaz. It was elevated. You could feel the shift almost immediately. The way Kody defended Robyn at the slightest sign of tension, the way he prioritized her feelings, her needs, her home, even when it meant neglecting the rest. Suddenly, Christine was walking on eggshells. Janelle was growing more distant. Mary? She was barely hanging on. It wasn't just that Robyn was loved, it was that she became the center of gravity, and everything else started to orbit around her. And as this favoritism grew louder, the cracks turned into canyons. Families don't fall apart overnight, but they do collapse when one person's comfort is placed above everyone else's truth. And that's exactly what started to happen in the Brown household. As time went on, it became painfully clear that Kody wasn't just leaning toward Robyn, he was practically living there emotionally and physically. And the wives who once shared his love, his time, his energy, they were left holding pieces of a life that no longer existed. Kody's connection to Christine, Janelle, and Mary didn't just fade, it turned cold. And if you watched closely, the show didn't even try to hide it. One of the most heartbreaking examples? Season 16. Christine's daughter, Isabel, needed scoliosis surgery, a major moment for any parent. But Kody? He refused to go with her because of COVID protocols. Meanwhile, he was spending that same time with Robyn and her kids. That wasn't just a scheduling conflict, that was a loud message. Your pain doesn't matter to me unless your mother's still loyal. The surgery wasn't the only thing. We saw birthdays skipped, graduations and milestones met with silence. And when the older kids started noticing the distance, Kody didn't try to fix it. Instead, he blamed them for not respecting his rules or not being close to Robyn. His love started to feel more like a transaction. Show loyalty to Robyn and him, and maybe you'd get a sliver of attention. Then there were those family meetings. Tense, awkward, painful to watch, especially the ones during COVID. Kody often came in not to connect, but to correct. His tone with Christine and Janelle was clipped, defensive, sometimes outright dismissive. He wasn't trying to understand their concerns, he was trying to control them. And the loyalty question kept popping up. Are you aligned with me? Are you being obedient to the rules? But behind that language, the real question was, are you making Robyn feel like she's the only wife that matters? And for the kids, especially the older ones, the message landed hard. They felt discarded. Not because they broke any rules, but because their moms weren't playing along anymore. Kody's love started to come with conditions. Obey, agree, stay silent, or you're out. That's not leadership. That's emotional manipulation. At some point, it stopped being a plural marriage and started looking like a monogamous relationship with a few ghosted side families. And one by one, the women began to see it. Christine first, then Janelle. Even Mary, after years of holding on, was left standing outside the emotional circle Kody had redrawn around just one woman, Robyn. While Kody was pulling away from his original wives, Robyn wasn't just standing on the sidelines. She was building her own little kingdom. And whether it was intentional or not, she played a quiet but powerful role in reshaping the entire Brown family dynamic. Robyn's manipulation was never loud. It came in sighs and tears and carefully chosen silences. She didn't scream or demand her way. She just stayed quiet when it mattered most and cried when the spotlight turned away. And slowly, her version of being left out became the dominant narrative, even when it wasn't the truth. Remember when Christine left? Robyn was devastated, not because she supported Christine's healing, but because it threatened the image of unity she'd clung to. She cried about being excluded, yet never once picked up the phone to check on Truly. No visits, no effort. Same with Savannah. Robyn kept saying she wanted the family to stay close, but she only moved when it directly affected her or her kids. And let's not forget the financial part. Robyn's house, her lifestyle, far more comfortable than the rest. While Janelle struggled with RV life and Christine planned her future solo, Robyn's life stayed cozy, secure, protected, almost like a fortress, emotionally and physically, while everyone else was left scrambling for shelter. In the end, Robyn didn't just benefit from Kody's favoritism. She helped solidify it. And the others? They were slowly pushed out, not with force, but with a soft, smiling silence that said, "You're no longer needed here." Christine's departure wasn't just a divorce, it was a revolution. For years, we watched her dim her light, always smiling, always giving, always putting the needs of the family before her own, even when it hurt. But the truth? Christine had been slowly unraveling for years, and the cracks became impossible to hide. One of the most heartbreaking moments came when she talked about intimacy, how Kody told her he was no longer interested in being intimate with her. That wasn't just about physical connection. That was about rejection, about feeling unwanted after decades of loyalty, sacrifice, and motherhood. And when she tried to talk about her feelings, he gaslit her, twisted the blame, made her look like the problem. That was the final blow. Christine didn't storm out. She didn't create chaos. She made a choice, a powerful, deeply emotional choice, and to choose herself, to step away from the noise, the cold shoulders, the empty promises. And when she walked away from that house in Flagstaff, she didn't just leave a marriage, she left years of emotional neglect behind. Then came David Woolley. And let's be clear, David wasn't a rebound. He was a breath of fresh air, a man who made her feel seen, loved, safe. When viewers saw them together, we weren't just watching a new relationship. We were watching Christine come back to life. That glow on her face, that wasn't makeup. That was peace. That was liberation. And fans noticed. The internet exploded with support. People cheered her on like she was a close friend, finally leaving a toxic job. She didn't just survive, she bloomed. She traveled, she laughed again, she shared joyful moments with her kids without filtering them through the lens of Kody's disapproval. Christine's journey reminded so many women watching that it's okay to walk away when love turns into control, that choosing happiness isn't betrayal, it's bravery. And in doing so, she didn't just change her life. She became a symbol of strength for every viewer who's ever felt stuck, silenced, or second best. If Christine's exit was the earthquake, then Janelle and Mary were the slow-moving aftershocks. Quiet at first, but impossible to ignore, as the foundation cracked beneath them. Janelle had always been the practical one, the level-headed, keep the peace and raise the kids kind of woman. But even she couldn't deny what was happening. She watched Kody pull further and further into Robyn's orbit, emotionally checked out, physically absent, and increasingly dismissive toward anyone who didn't worship the ground he walked on. Janelle wasn't interested in playing that game. One of the most powerful moments? When Janelle flat out said she was staying for her kids, not Kody. That wasn't just honesty, that was rebellion. And during the holidays, when she and Kody clashed over the COVID rules, you could see the shift. She wasn't going to beg for his attention. She was building a life of her own, financially independent, emotionally grounded, and, most of all, unafraid to speak up. And then there's Mary. Oh, Mary, the original first wife, the one who gave up her legal marriage so Kody could marry Robyn for the sake of the kids. For years she stayed, clinging to hope that things could go back to what they once were. even after the catfishing scandal, even after Kody admitted, on camera, that he had no desire to be with her anymore. She held on quietly, painfully, hoping for something that wasn't coming. But eventually, even Mary saw the truth. Kody had moved on, emotionally, spiritually, and relationally. And when she finally let go, it wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a quiet surrender, a release of years of pain, loneliness, and one sided love. For both women, the realization wasn't about bitterness, it was about clarity, about finally seeing that love isn't supposed to feel like this. By the time the dust had settled, the emotional wreckage was undeniable. Kody, the man who once stood at the center of this massive family, found himself surrounded by silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that stings with absence. Phone calls not returned, kids no longer reaching out, wives gone emotionally, and, in Christine's case, physically. And through it all, Kody spun the same tired story, blaming Christine, blaming disloyalty, blaming the pandemic, but never once looking in the mirror. There's a moment that still hits hard when Kody admits he didn't go to Isabel's surgery because of COVID. But fans watched as he bounced between Robyn's house and other public activities. The excuses didn't hold water, and the hurt in Isabel's eyes, that wasn't scripted. That was a daughter realizing her father chose comfort over her. Again. One by one, the children began pulling away, not out of rebellion, but because the love they were getting was transactional, conditional. You had to agree with him, defend Robyn, stay loyal. And if you didn't, well, you were cut off. And then there's Robyn. For someone who often cried about being excluded, she stayed awfully quiet when the other kids were hurting. Where was the outreach to Savannah when Janelle was struggling? Where was her presence for Truly when Christine left? Robyn positioned herself as the victim, but did nothing to bridge the gaps. She built a safe, emotional island with Kody, while the rest of the family drowned in silence. This wasn't just a breakdown of a marriage, it was the emotional collapse of an entire family. And at the center of it all were choices that were made, ignored, and justified, no matter who got hurt. In the end, the version of family that Robyn said she wanted to protect no longer exists. The house full of laughter, chaos, shared birthdays, and porch talks is gone. What's left is a quiet home where the walls echo with everything that used to be. The truth? Robyn didn't save the family. She ended up isolating it, piece by piece. Whether intentional or not, her influence and Kody's complicity drove wedges that became walls and eventually empty rooms. And now Kody and Robyn are sitting with the weight of it all. The emotional burden is heavy, but so is the financial one. With Christine, Janelle, and Mary gone, the shared resources are no longer shared. Robyn's lifestyle, the big house, the shopping, the nanny, suddenly feels more like a spotlight than a blessing. There's no longer a family to justify it. Just two people trying to convince themselves they did the right thing. But here's the thing. Family on Sister Wives was never about structure. It wasn't about how many wives or kids lived under one roof. It was about connection, about showing up for each other. Christine upheld that. Janelle fought for it. Even Mary, through her pain, tried to keep it alive. They were the ones who held the heart of the family in their hands, even when it was breaking. And as the show fades into its next chapter, viewers are left with one undeniable truth. The people who walked away from the dysfunction weren't the ones who gave up on the family. They were the ones who remembered what family was supposed to feel like and chose to go find it again.